Democratic leaders refusing to take responsibility for America's crime crisis. A heartbroken family is blaming New York's Democrat governor, Kathy Hochul, for the execution-style murder of a mother with 3 children. Kara Benefield was shot and killed in front of her kids by her estranged husband, less than 24 hours after he was released with no bail over this very brutal beatdown that she actually posted to her Facebook page in a desperate plea for help. The governor refusing any responsibility for the cold-blooded murder and instead blaming the system that she runs.
The system absolutely failed her. The system has to work. Orders of protection have to be granted. Transition homes have to be available. And we have to make sure that judges and prosecutors charge appropriately.
And as Republican Lee Zeldin closes in thanks to concerns over public safety, Democrats are calling in Vice President Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton for a last-ditch push for Kathy Hochul. Clinton thinks the GOP is just trying to scare voters.
So when they talk about crime, they're just trying to gin up all kinds of fear and anxiety in people. They're not dealing with it. They're not trying to tackle it. And so I view it as an effort to scare voters.
Judge, do you want to comment on anything you want? But
I'll tell you,
that woman who was murdered is terrible.
I'm furious when they say we're trying to gin up this anger. Look, first of all, you got 2 jokes, 2 losers. Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris come in for Hochul. Remember, Hochul is an accidental governor. She has no constituency. Nobody believes in her. She is corrupt as the day is long. Nobody heard of her. And you know what? She's corrupt. Talk about the Buffalo, the Bills, the stadium, and then talk about the COVID test that she gave, the no-bid contract, and we pay double the price. But let's talk about what this nincompoop Hochul says. She says we have to trust this system. We have to get orders of protection. Let me tell you something, Governor. An order of protection is a piece of paper. When I was an assistant DA running the first domestic violence unit in the nation, I issued these pieces of paper myself with no judicial authority. Just gave it to the victims when the judge wouldn't, saying to the cops, this man needs to be arrested if he bothers her, because you can predict a homicide. If anyone watches a video of that woman being beat down by that man, there is no question of his intent to kill her. So why was he charged with an assault 3? Why was he charged with a misdemeanor as opposed to, look at that animal, as opposed to attempted murder or assault in the first degree, a risk of death? She doesn't know what she's talking about. The law needs to be changed. She needs to change it. There is blood on her hands with this domestic violence victim and all the other victims, the man with 25 arrests who rapes other women. The Democrats own it. They own it, and they will pay for it on Election Day.
It is strange, Jessica, when you have somebody like Hillary Clinton say something like that on the day that you have this case, the murder that we're talking about, but also you brought up a man who had been arrested over 25 times, rapes a woman who was jogging this morning at 5:30 in the morning, right there in West Village, like in the nice area in your neighborhood.
Third rape too this year, I think.
Yeah. And so when Hillary Clinton says Republicans are trying to gin it up, I mean, where does she get that?
I did not think that was the right response to this. I think that saying that you can temper your message and say that it's not, New York City is not the hellhole that some people would have you believe that it is. And that's how I feel about it. But I'm not blind to what's going on. And you're seeing these things happen in all the places that you frequent, which is markedly different from how crime waves have happened before. In the 90s, it was relatively isolated. It was worse in technical terms, in terms of people actually being murdered, but it was isolated in places and you knew where not to go. Now it's, in the West Village on the Esplanade there is super fancy over there, right? It's people jogging in Lululemon gear, pushing babies.
It's also, a lot of these victims are women. It is women who are being attacked. And you don't have somebody like the congresswoman or the senator from New York saying anything.
This isn't the first time Hillary has thrown women under the bus, but this might be the worst. And the idea of the ginning up fear, I would understand that if suddenly the 5 just started talking about crime a week or so before November, right? No, we've been talking about this for 2.5 years since this stuff has been going on. Hochul knows she's in trouble. I hope she loses. Now she's saying that she acknowledges the crime problem. So what she's done, she's acknowledged it. She had ample warning that if she had listened and heeded about this bail reform that was horrendous, that mother of 3 would be alive. So if she'd actually done her job, that person would be alive. You can't charge somebody for murder when they let somebody die. But she let him die. She let him die. She let this horrendous practice keep going and said she would revisit it, I guess, in January. Well, why? Because she assumes she's going to win. And then when it come January, she doesn't have to deal with it anymore. Reinstating cash bail could be the easiest thing you can do unless you're a spineless drip who cowers before woke Soros progressive prosecutors. Then for her, it's harder than climbing Mount Everest in high heels. But it's not going to be harder for anybody else. Doesn't even matter if it's Lee Zeldin. Doesn't even matter if it's a Republican. Could be a Democrat. A new person comes in and can do it because they don't have the baggage. They don't have the sunk cost. They don't have the blood on their hands. So, I mean, I think Tuesday, New Yorkers got to vote as if their lives depended on it, because obviously it does.
Ginning up fear, actually, it's Democrats who have started in the last week realizing they don't have a closing argument, saying that Republicans are going to cut Social Security and Medicare. That is preposterous, and you can ask anybody about that. Jesse, what about President Biden? He spent the entirety of 2020 trying to tell people and convince voters that he didn't actually really author the 1994 crime bill. But maybe now he wishes he hadn't done that.
Yeah, right. Well, he was trying to win praise from the base. And now the only crime he talks about is what happened with Paul Pelosi. This is why Kathy's going down, is because she had to get cornered by the media days after the story broke to even say anything about this. If you're a female governor, a leader of this state, this was a massive story for the last 48 hours, and you have to, like, get cornered in a dark corner and just finally say something and blame the system. She is the system, and then her point is, the system killed this woman, but re-elect the system on Tuesday. That doesn't make any sense. She was lieutenant governor when Cuomo signed the bail reform. She championed bail reform. And then at debate last week, she championed Al Bragg. She said, I have Bragg's back. Oh. And Bragg was the one that undercharged this monster down to a misdemeanor for beating the wife, and then he gets out and kills her. So she has blood on her hands. Bragg has blood on her hands. And she just doesn't have the heart or the brain to do the job. She's like, if the Tin Man and the Scarecrow mated, it's not going to cut it, lady. She is in trouble, and we know how bad it is, because you're bringing in heavy hitters to deep blue New York. Crooked, Kamala, a week before the election. This is supposed to be the safest governor's seat ever. You're bringing in the big dogs now. She's going down.
Can I add something quickly about domestic violence? That it really bothers me. And remember, there was the case in New York, the woman who was at a shelter hiding from her partner and she was pushing the baby stroller. Everyone who talks to this acts like it's no big deal. They just tell people to move, right? Well, you should pick up and restart your life. This woman, the mother, her mother helps take care of the children. Right? You can't just go somewhere and suddenly you have built-in child care, abandon your home.
Well, that's why the women in domestic violence situations always want to go home. They'll live in a transition home, they'll live in a shelter, but they want to go home to give their children a normal life. And so one of the things about this that is so outrageous is that at least Sewell, the police commissioner, agreed that Hochul, the governor, needs to change and do something about bail laws. Mayor Adams kept his mouth shut and said nothing. I mean, the political ideology that is running the Democrats in this state is hurting
and
victims.
Where are the women elected leaders of New
Nowhere.
York?
We just saw two. We just saw one. Hillary Clinton do nothing.
AOC, Gillibrand.
AOC, right.
Take anything.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.